Welcome to Midwest Horror Network's October 2020 special, where we watch and discuss all of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. Today we are talking about Treehouse of Horror 14. Not a huge fan of this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all might die.
Thank you, David.
We had a bit of an interesting introduction for this one. This might be the best introduction we've had in a while.
Yeah.
Violent.
Yeah, so basically, Bart and Lisa get back from trick-or-treating. They're dressed as Peanuts characters, and Bart is not happy that Lisa got better candy than him, so the two of them start fighting. Bart tries to beat Lisa with a fireplace poker, but misses and ends up stabbing Homer with the poker. And in a fit of rage, Homer throws a flaming log at the kids, misses, and hits Grandpa Simpson, who then gets set on fire, but is still cold.
I'm still cold.
That was actually pretty funny.
Homer then pulls the rug out from Bart and Lisa, rolls them up in the rug, and starts beating them. And then
With a baseball bat.
With a baseball bat. And then Marge, unhappy with how Homer is handling the kids, shoots him with a shotgun a couple times. And Homer's blood spells out the title, Simpsons Halloween Special 14. Meanwhile, watching this whole domestic incident are Kang and Kodos. One of them is reading the TV guide, and there's like, what's this, a Halloween special in November? And the other one of them is saying, who's still thinking about Halloween? We already have our Christmas decorations up.
Oh, another joke if it wasn't so true would be even funnier.
I hate humanity.
That's true.
That's on that good old-fashioned retail clock. This second that all the back-to-school shit is over, Halloween starts. And as soon as October 15th is done, off to Christmas.
Yeah. Fuck Thanksgiving. We're throwing up the Christmas shit. It's like Halloween hasn't even happened yet, you pricks.
Yeah, I've noticed they've been starting earlier and
Every time I see a store do that, I just want to burn it down.
Probably the worst case of this I've ever seen was my first college I went to, SUNY Fredonia. This is during my freshman year. What would happen is I lived at home during that, and my brother was still going to school there at the time, and his last class of the day finished about half an hour or an hour after my last class of the day finished, so I would just hang around campus, wait for my brother to finish up his class, and then we'd go home. So I'd often just like walk around, and I would also look around the school bookstore. And on October 1st, I walk into the bookstore, and they have this huge Christmas tree set up on October 1st.
I have a worse one.
Oh no! Wait, I'm sorry. It was SUNY Fredonia. They had this large holiday tree set up.
I have a worse one.
I would have pitched a fit.
All right. It was August 25th, and I was walking into Menards because I knew that they were starting to, because they don't have like back to school shit in Menards, like, so I knew that they'd be setting up some Halloween shit. I was like, I love Halloween. I'm gonna go check this out, obviously. So I go in there. I'm checking out the Halloween. I'm walking down the aisle, and I look over, like right down at the end of the aisle, and there's a very small but very, very obvious Christmas section with a Mr. Claus and a Mrs. Claus and a North Pole sign for sale right then and now. I was wearing shorts. It was fucking 87 degrees outside, and I went, I'm gonna go now. And I remember it being August 25th because I looked at my fucking phone to actually confirm the date of which it was and the degrees of temperature it was outside. And that's the worst and most egregious offense.
What year was that?
Oh God, that was at least maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
5 to 6 years ago. It's like 2014 maybe, 2014,
right
2015. my incident was before yours, so that is proof that it is actually getting worse as time goes on.
Yeah, that was
pretty bad.
It was very egregious. I was like, oh, I feel dirty.
We do like
Because mine would have been like 09.
Yeah,
Because it was freshman year of college for me.
It was
so.
getting worse.
See, I don't know what's worse if we like think of the movie 28 Days Later, waking up to Christmas or waking up to zombies for Zach.
Look, zombies, I can at least go out and kill shit.
True.
This, it's just infuriating. Like,
Yeah.
the funniest moment for me, this was 2 years ago. Me and Wes were on break, and I needed to go to Home Depot for something. I can't remember what, but I'm just like, all right, fuck it, let's go to Home Depot. It's like
it's always the home improvement stores.
yeah, it's October 2nd. We both walk in. I look to the right, and I see all the Halloween stuff gone and Christmas stuff, and I literally said out loud, "Who the fuck did that?" And several people just turn and look at me, and Wes is just like, with that goofy face, just like,
We're in public.
and I'm just like, fuck
This is why
people.
This is why my wife had a black Christmas tree.
That just sounds awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
All you need to do now is just burn it, because it's still a Christmas tree.
Yeah, but it's black with orange lights.
David, tell us about our first segment, Reaper Madness.
Well, this is definitely the best segment of the three.
Can I just say one thing before
By a
we start?
landslide? Sure.
Family Guy did it better. Continue.
Actually, I'm gonna
Yeah, I like
agree with
Family
Zach
Guy
on this
first.
one.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
agree.
agree.
Too.
Yep.
Wow, and Brandon actually agreed.
That's how you know we're entering the shit show.
Yeah.
Now, please continue. While I take a
Anyway, Death shows
You're
up.
not napping through this, Zach. You're participating in our
Nap
conversation.
after.
Don't be a bitch.
Don't
If
be a
we have to
Disney
suffer
princess.
through this one, you do too. And we're not even at the worst.
I was
yet.
gonna say I've been suffering long enough.
Anyway, so in this segment, Death shows up at the Simpsons door, looking to take Bart to, with them. They decided that they didn't want to let Bart go with them. They do a Benny Hill style chase through the house.
Which I did smirk at.
I like that.
I gotta admit that I did like it. I didn't
Yeah.
want to. I pretty much had a Zach attitude about it. I didn't want to like it, but I did. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean a lot of cartoons and stuff and TV shows do that, but
Yeah.
It's probably
I
one
like
of the
this.
most overused cartoon gags.
Oh
yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
But I did. They did do some creative stuff with it.
yeah, I did because at one point like Santa's little helper had Death's leg and his
Yeah,
mouth
running
running through the house. So
And then Maggie was chasing him with a sickle.
I think it would be the one
Figures,
to chase Death
yeah.
down, just be like, "Fuck you."
Because Maggie's actually a secret sociopath.
oh yeah,
Um,
fucking sacrifice. He pins. I think the chase ends up in the dining room. Death throws his scythe towards Bart and pins him to the wall. Homer comes from behind and bashes Death's head for killing Snowball and for killing John F. Kennedy. He kills Death. Then Springfield, something weird happens where there is nobody there to reap, so no one can die. So we end up with the Springfield Mafia shooting Frankie the Squealer, I think,
The snitch.
or the
Frankie
snitch,
the snitch.
whatever. One of the snitches, and they're shooting him. He can't die, and he makes like a really kind of funny comment, like, because they're like, "What's going on?" It's like, "If I knew, I would tell you."
Why is everybody looking at me?
They're Italian, American? Yeah, he realizes it's gonna be long, so he calls his wife because he's gonna be late. Then we end up in Moe's bar. Moe's hanging himself. He's already suspended there.
Yeah.
He ordered pizza while he was waiting for Death.
Which,
And-
that makes no sense.
It did make no sense,
Did
but
he
it
order
was
the pizza before he hung himself? Or did he call in after he hung himself? But then how did he get to the phone?
Yeah, there's
the only
no
reason the only reason that is there is not to measure up to logic, but to facilitate the next joke.
Yeah.
probably.
Oh, totally.
Which was
There was no Alexa or Siri around at that time, so there's no way he could have ordered the pizza without getting down, unless he did and then just hung himself back up there. But
exactly, which leads to that joke about like, hey, the money's on the counter, but no
no
tip.
tip. And it's like,
you bastard.
bastard.
That's why I'm up
Mhm.
here.
Let's see, where the fuck are we at with this episode?
Homer throws away Death's
Yeah,
bones
Marge's
and
like, get rid of
puts
Death's
on his
body.
cloak.
Puts on his cloak. He turns into Death. He gets the list. He has fun with that, actually. Pretty much reaping. Then takes Bart to like a ball game or whatever, and they're like in the nosebleed seats way up top, and Bart asked him, he wanted to go up closer, and he's like, I gotcha, and pretty much walks down and is touching everybody and literally killing them until he makes it to the luxury box down there, where he was about to touch the lady, but then gets killed by a baseball. So,
Yeah.
that was pretty funny. And then Bart's like,
Were all those people on the list? I don't know.
I don't know.
Then there was a career day with Lisa.
Yeah.
That was pretty messed up.
Yeah, it was pretty messed up. Do you guys want to see him harvest
his
a soul?
They bring in some homeless guy who's just like, he said something about a hot meal, and he seems so eager and
depressed.
happy, and then you just
That kind
hear
of was-
the clunk of him falling down on the floor and the children cheering.
Wow, that was terrible.
Yeah. David, wrap up this segment.
Yeah, then it goes downhill after that. The name for the next list is his wife, Marge Simpson, and he says no. They changed the name to him. He's like, what was the first name again? Marge Simpson. And pretty much brings up a body to a cliff.
Yeah, it's
To
probably
God.
rolled up in a rug, and you see Marge's hair sticking out.
Yep. And God realizes that it was one of Marge's sisters.
Selma.
Homer's like, ha, runs off. God tries to chase him, gets stopped by a train, and says he's too rich for this, and pretty much leaves. That was the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Yay!
Some amusing stuff in this.
I'll say this right now, but I think it's gonna win the number one for me by default because it
Yeah,
had
everybody.
some funny jokes in it. And I did laugh.
It
Yeah.
started off really. It started off.
It was a
well
good
enough for me.
premise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But again, this is a premise that I have to wholeheartedly agree with. That Family Guy did 100
Yeah.
times better.
Oh yeah.
100 times better. This is
Oh yeah.
one of those
They
times.
did it better, and I believe they did this one before The Simpsons.
Yeah, because it was a really early.
Yeah, that was
That-
one of the
that was like,
Yeah.
second episode.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the second episode, but it was within the first two seasons. So
yeah.
this
No,
was
I
definitely.
think it was the first season. The
was
That,
the
like I said, it
first.
was the first or second season, and it was.
I don't think it was the first.
I think it was the first season, man. I think
50% chance.
And
I
that-
just know it was within the first two seasons, but I don't think it was within the first two episodes though. Because I've seen I think Wish Upon a Weinstein was the second episode if I remember correctly.
In the year 2000, so Family Guy predated this episode of Simpsons by 3 years about.
Yep, called it.
Okay, now we're really into the dregs here. Zach, tell us about segment 2, Frinkenstein.
I'm gonna make this simple. That really smart scientist Albert
Professor Frink.
Professor Frink, whatever the fuck his name is. He wins the Nobel Prize. He wants his father around. Lisa finds out. Lisa tries to find his father. They find out that Frink freeze-dried his father because he got bit by a shark going off on a shark expedition. They have very bad father-son problems. He revives his father, turns him into a fucking Frankenstein guy by replacing his kidney with a mechanical part. Dude doesn't like it. Goes, starts stealing body parts from people. Frink is about to win the Nobel Prize. Father comes. They have a father-son bonding moment. The father tries to eat a bunch of brains. Son kills him. They have a father-son bonding moment again. Dies. End of episode. People in the audience were pissed.
Yeah.
I hated this.
Oh my God.
it's
This
just
is-
I mean, yeah, it's fucking.
This pisses me off. This is like the second episode in a row where they kind of take an idea from a previous Treehouse and just like redo it. Because they did like a Frankenstein version where
version
Mr.
of that with
Burns-
Homer and like
This is
and actually
fucking-
That's actually a good point.
and actually to be perfectly honest, I didn't like that episode.
Yeah.
So what makes
Exactly.
you think that I'm gonna like this one?
yeah.
For
It makes
me,
you wonder.
it's-
How
it-
long until the next Edgar Allan Poe episode?
Yeah, they're
this one was
recycling.
such a it's clear the reason they did this is because they're able to get Jerry Lewis to be Frink's father, and Professor Frink is so obviously based off of
course.
Jerry Lewis.
Of course.
So yeah, it's just a thinly veiled, obvious joke that they just put in there because they got him. And then they shoehorn in a couple other guest stars. They were able to get like Jennifer Garner at the end of an award show.
I actually was
Which-
questioning whether or not that actually was
Yeah,
It was, and like award show subplots to me always feel,
shoehorned.
yeah, and especially when you only have like a 7-minute segment here, it even just feels worse. And there was nothing to this. It was just Frank's father harvesting organs, and then he harvests organs again, and he dies from a kick to the crotch, which really.
That wasn't so bad, but again, nothing really happened other than that, and it was just not funny.
Yeah, that's the biggest sin of all in this one. It's like I did not laugh once. Like even with like he rips out Skinner's spine, and his mother comes and is like, "No spine, huh?" And it's like there's stuff that should have been funny that wasn't funny. And
You know what?
Yeah.
Okay, so what this feels like, and I've said this with with a lot of comedies that aren't funny. I give this advice to a lot of people. If you want everyone to break down the science of stand-up or even comedy, but it's more crucial in stand-up. Watch a stand-up so many times that it's no longer funny, and then you can start to see the science behind it, like the positioning and the timing, and you can start to see that. But that's also, if you feel like that on your first round, that just means that there's a very key element missing within the formula of comedy. It has all the reasons why it should be funny, but it's not. You can see the beats. You can see, like it's like when you talk with somebody and you're like it's that whole thing about like it smells like a cat, meows like a cat, looks like a cat, but it's not a fucking cat. And this thing with this comedy, like it sounds like it should be funny, it looks like it should be funny. It feels like it should be funny, but at the end of the day, it's not fucking funny. It's like they're trying to mathematically make something funny, when in fact it's way more art than it is science. And this feels very, very, very manufactured. Like I can see the beats, it's like the fucking Wizard of Oz. You can see the man behind the curtain with all this shit, and that's, I was like, it's almost like they want to say insert laugh here.
Somebody put on the laugh track now.
Exactly. That's how it felt. Like, insert comedy here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, it's not that fucking funny.
That's how I kind of felt, because comedy in general is subjective, so that's how.
Of course.
But like you don't really.
But it's
get
also
this. It's like.
It's also visceral though too.
Yeah.
Like that's what we gave Zach shit about. It's like, I didn't laugh. I'm like, you can't control laughing. It's a response. It's an emotional response.
Mm-hmm.
You do it.
it's a reflex.
Correct. Thank you. That's so you just do it. And this is one of those things that it looks like a cat, meows like a cat, walks like a cat,
Exactly.
but it's not a fucking cat.
And
That is a cat.
That is a cat.
and there's 4 of us here too. Not one of us laughed after the first part of the first segment.
I even even one of them I went
Yeah.
and that was it. And that was the only reaction I got. I mean, yeah, that's it. That was all I was gonna say with that.
Yeah, like I said, this might be the first segment. Like there are weak segments in
course.
Treehouse of Horror before this one. But even then, it's like, okay, we can appreciate the animation, or there's still that one line that was, a snicker, or like there would be something that I can appreciate. Even in the ones that don't work for me, or I don't, particularly like, there's at least that one thing I can appreciate. There is nothing in Frinkenstein that works for me.
No.
I will tell you this though.
None
I
of the-
remember it.
I hated the design of Frank Sr. with all the parts, the different townspeople.
That was stupid.
I hated the plot line of him just harvesting organs for some reason.
I'm angry.
I hated the ending. It was, nothing worked in this one. I hate it.
I think the worst part was just like I'm tired of them.
Yeah.
Kind of. I think this is like where they're just wanting to recycle previous ideas and just do something different with it, and it's just not
Yeah,
working.
it's like they don't have an original idea.
Dude,
Yeah.
honestly, man, like this, I'll tell you what this feels like. Like, I wonder how. See, this is where I'd be curious. Like, and this is more like where I'd get answers from you, Brandon. Like, how was this season as a whole?
Let me take a. Actually, I will. Yeah, I did sort of cycle through the episode guide before I clicked on this episode, and this season was mixed.
Okay.
There are a couple that I do enjoy watching to this day, and there are also those where it's just kind of like I'm going to skip it.
You know what? In the,
Let me bring up.
I'm just leave this one
Yeah,
alone.
let me bring up the episode guide here.
while he's bringing that up, I will say this entire episode feels like a Canon Kodos situation. It feels like they were contractually obligated to write a Treehouse of Horror in the season, and the writers at that time in that particular space didn't give really a fuck about it. They're like, oh, we got to do it, we got to do it, and I think and I think that joke at the beginning, man, really hits hard and hits the home in how much they really didn't give a fuck about it. Like, they released it in November.
Yeah.
Like, so I would probably say this. It may not be true, but that's what it feels like. It feels like that this is one of those checklist things they need to get taken care of, and they kind of just like, well, we'll just recycle some old shit. Or we'll rip off Family Guy.
Yeah. This Family Guy's working.
Especially at this time, Family Guy was still on its fucking high horse.
And in its defense, Family Guy has ripped off Simpsons plenty of times.
Of course.
But of course, they've done it better because Family Guy's awesome.
Yeah, looking at this season and counting it out, like if I were to give thumbs up or thumbs down to each episode in this season, it would pretty much be half and half.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's down the middle.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they changed out writers in between.
Yeah.
Or is it mixed within there?
That is a good question.
Because because I know that this was probably, these episodes are always earlier in the season, so maybe at like the
Which
spring
also,
break.
actually, what I need to look at is the previous season as a whole. Because remember, they write.
Yeah, that's right.
They write the Halloween specials on the season before it airs, that they have time for all the animation. And
This might have been a writer's transition
yeah,
at this time.
yeah, because there are quite a few last season that I really like. It's not the strongest season, but it's one that, for the most part, whenever I do my binges and I get to season 14, I'm not seeing any where I go, oh, I want to skip this. Like, even the weaker ones in this season still have moments that I enjoy. But yeah, season 15, which is the season where this Treehouse of Horror actually aired, it's right down the middle.
Okay. You know what though, and I also know, and it's funny that this gets brought up now, but I remember watching a few documentaries about The Simpsons in general, and I know that they've had a long history of contractual issues, of writer contractual issues for the last 30 fucking years. And there's been many fights, things done to the last possible second. Mm-hmm. So where they'll drag off negotiation until the last possible second. They've done it with the cast members and they've done it with the writers.
Yeah.
So this may be.
Harry Shearer was supposed to be leaving the series how many times?
Didn't he finally leave?
No, he's still on, but it's like I swear, like every 5 to 7 years, there's like, I'm probably going to leave because of money, and then they work it out at the last minute.
Oh yeah, and they've done that countless times. So I can only imagine that this episode was written right when negotiations were going on, and they just said, I don't have to really put that much effort into this unless my contract is renewed next year. So if they're writing it the year before, this might have been a contract year.
Yeah.
Where they probably wrote it in May to premiere in November, and then their contract didn't get re-signed until fucking August or September, and that's the reason why the quality is where it is. It's kind of shitty.
I mean, there are Simpsons scholars much more in tune with behind the scenes stuff than I am, who can probably answer that. But yeah, it's just it's unfortunate whenever a Halloween special has a major dip in quality like this, because I do look forward to them every year, and when it's a disappointing one,
That's
it's
a whole year fucked.
Yeah, that's a good point. So anyway, I guess it's my turn.
It's your turn for Stop the World. I want to goof off.
All right.
Your turn to suffer.
So this is basically fucking clock stoppers.
It's Twilight Zone.
Or that.
Yeah,
or,
there is an actual Twilight Zone
episode
with this plot.
and then also that
What a surprise.
the
it was a season 5 episode.
I guess I remember the shitty
Clock
movie
Stopper.
Clock
Which
Stopper,
I've
yeah.
seen Clock Stoppers.
Same
as
here.
well.
Yeah. So basically, Bart and Milhouse discover a mysterious clock.
Well, they don't really discover it. It's they order it out of an old comic book ad.
Oh, that's right. The
fucking works.
and then it works. Then they begin to figure out that they can stop time. And then what do 2 10-year-olds do when they figure out they can stop time? They start doing a bunch of pranks. And then they get more and more escalating. They pull down Smithers' pants. They fuck with Homer with him reaching in for donuts. And then removing him from it. And then they get progressively worse until the mayor actually sets a trap for them using ultraviolet dust of some kind. And then he turns off the lights, and then they track the footprints and figure out that it is, in fact, Bart and Milhouse both causing the pranks. So they go ahead and begin to try to run away. They stop time. They stop a bullet at the last moment. And they flick it off, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then right when that happens, they accidentally drop the clock, and then time is permanently frozen. So they begin to try to live life in this dystopian world.
Which I just want to point out that the Twilight Zone episode ends with the guy dropping the watch and it breaks and he's stuck in frozen time.
Okay, so this goes a little bit further past that. So they end up collecting a bunch of shit. They collect, everything that a 10-year-old, you think would want to collect. A bunch of different furniture, prizes, lottery tickets, money, piles of gold, all that shit. I would have loved some better background gags in this one.
Yeah.
I really would have, because that would have been a great opportunity to do more shit in the background.
The best one from like when time freezes and all that. And I think this is when they first froze time. I don't even think it's when they broke the watch. And it wasn't even a background gag because it was right there in the forefront. But it was Lenny and Carl's cars crashed and they were about to... They both went through their windshields and were about to, go head on into each other.
Even that, man. Like, I mean, to me, that was...
Which I like that because that is such a Lenny and Carl thing.
True. I mean, but again, though, you're coming off of being more of a fan and knowing the backstory, being as a person who doesn't know as much.
Yeah.
The coming into this is just not as cool.
And it was also... Not there. Yeah, and those townspeople, they were legit going to kill them. Like, Chief Wiggum fired his gun, and if they didn't hit that stopwatch when they did, Bart would have gotten shot right in the head.
Yep, pretty much.
That was a headshot.
Headshot. And then they begin to get more and more bored and depressed with their lives being frozen. Bart is able to clean his family and wash them down, but Homer's head keeps popping off. And Milhouse did, in fact, bring his parents back together. Except
it was kind of hollow.
And then it fell over. And even Brandon went, at that pun. Because it was that bad. Anyway, so they end up getting a book to figure out how to fix watches in under 15 minutes or an hour. It takes them 15 years to get through the whole book.
Which they're both 10 years old. And those are the most unhealthiest looking 25-year-olds I have ever seen in a cartoon.
Dude, Milhouse looks like he's in his fucking 40s.
Well, then they were completely supplied by gummy worms.
No, Milhouse was completely supplied by gummy worms.
And then Bart has a mullet.
He had like that ponytail and little chin.
Little chin thing. Very big that was very big in the 90s. I don't know. This was in the 2000s.
He looks like the kind of person that regularly watches Kevin Smith movies.
And then will not shut up about them.
Fuck you trying to say, boy?
Anyway, so they end up fixing the watch, and then they realize that they're about to be in a horrible position. So they ended up getting Martin to take the fall for them, position them to attack the mob. The mob beats the shit out of them, and then Bart ends up going back to live in his house, and they all wonder why he looks weird. And then I believe Lisa gets a hold of the watch that starts to shift reality into several different gags that are a lot funnier than. I'm sorry, I'm misstating this. They're nowhere near as funny as the writers actually think that they are. They were again, going back to, looks like a cat, walks like a cat.
The
meows like a
funniest
cat.
one was them as the Fantastic Four, and even that was just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, it was very and that was the end.
Yeah, they end on hula hooping to Rock Around the Clock,
Sure,
and that's it.
and then that's it. I mean,
Good.
this was a completely, just such a throwaway, and like the amount of background gags that could have been in this episode is deeply disappointing.
that is the most disappointing part of this segment. Like, this segment isn't terrible.
It's not.
It does have a story, but it has a lot. But for everything you could have done with this premise, it does feel first drafty to me.
And also too, you couldn't have made a better premise for background gags.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That was perfect for that. And
I do think they nail the whole. If you were 10 years old and could freeze time, what would you do? They definitely nailed that aspect of it. And that's pretty much it. There are a couple little chuckles here and there, but nothing substantial. But yeah, and like you said, it's the biggest detriment to this is they had a perfect opportunity for background gags, and considering how many background gags that The Simpsons is known for, that's why it feels first drafty to me. It was like they came up with a story, and then they just didn't take the time to go, okay, what can we put in the background here with this?
Again, I'm gonna take a guess by my theory that this was right in the middle of any kind of writers' negotiations, and they kind of just slapped it together and said, "Hey, here's your treehouse."
Yeah.
The deuces. But it is what it is. I think we have a pretty overall opinion about this.
This episode could have been definitely better.
Yeah.
The
I
episode.
think,
Go ahead.
it had some really good. It had some good moments for me though, like with Oscar De La Hoya beating up Martin. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
This
If you
is
don't
fun.
know, if you don't know who Oscar De La Hoya is, if you're listening, is a boxer. So he's in there. He's really wailing on him. He's like, hitting this kid is really fun.
It's like, damn.
He
Yeah, that
really
mob was
going
out
at
for
it.
blood.
Yeah, I mean, the episode, it was bad, but wasn't as bad as The Raven.
You are a liar. We know you're lying now.
No, I'm not. That goddamn episode had nothing.
I think this episode is more original than Zach right now.
Yeah.
Nothing's more original than me.
So yeah, funniest moment.
The opening.
Yeah.
I liked Homer harvesting the homeless guy, and I also liked Moe saying, "That's why I'm up here." And I did like the opening with the Christmas decorations.
It's the opening for me.
For me, it's the part where Bart tried to bargain for his life by replacing him with Milhouse.
Oh yeah, we all know there's no happy ending there.
That
was good.
That cuts deep.
Definitely the opening, for sure, and then I think it was Death as well. I had another one, but I forgot. That's how bad this damn episode is. But I'm going with the beginning for sure.
And we're still not at the worst.
God.
Oh God.
Dreading.
Scariest, creepiest, grossest moment.
Organ ripping out, and that's just I'm picking that by default.
Gross is definitely when Homer gets shot with a shotgun in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with David on that one.
Fuck it, sure, let's just get this over with.
Yeah.
That's gruesome.
Which it's pretty bad when we're relying on the intro for our
Yeah,
funniest
actually.
and grossest moments.
So folks, just watch the intro.
Yeah.
Or don't watch the episode at all.
Favorite segment? Is anybody not choosing the first one?
The intro. The first one.
And least favorite segment? Two.
Second one.
2.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yep.
Final thoughts on the episode overall?
It's a big eh. It's a big
Forgettable.
eh for me.
Something that I would definitely skip
Yeah,
if it came on TV. And
yeah,
just
I'm gonna
like,
go with that. I'm
I'm
gonna
not
go with
gonna
this.
watch this.
You know my thoughts.
Yeah, it's... The first and third segments are okay, but that second one drags it down so much for me.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I do my Treehouse of Horror binges each year, because of that second segment, I dread this one. It's that bad in my eyes. So it's like if you get rid of that second segment, you have something that's meh, but that second one brings the average down so low. Yeah, this is one to skip
Yeah.
overall.
Just don't recycle premises. That's
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for listening to the Midwest Horror Network's 2020 October special. Be sure to listen to our regular podcast, the Nightmares Podcast, on YouTube, Spotify, or Anchor. You can also check us out at Midwest Horror Network on all of our social media, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Slasher.
And of course, please press that little bell so you can be notified about all of our other amazing things. Thank you so much for checking out this Treehouse episode. We love y'all. We'll see you soon.
Happy October 14th.